can write an equation in standard form from real-world situations. Remembering standard form is that the x and the y are on the same side of the equal sign. So our first question says, the test has 100 points. Some of the questions are worth 10 points each, and some are worth 5 points each. Write an equation to represent the situation. Well, I know I have 100 points in all, so my equation has to equal 100 points. Some of the questions are worth 10 points each. Well, I don't know how many 10-point questions I have, so I'm going to let the 10-point questions be my x. So that's my x. I'm going to say that's 10 times x. 10 points times the number of questions, and some of the questions are 5 points each, and again, I don't know how many I have, so I'm going to let those questions be my y, and I'm adding the 5-point questions to my 10-point questions, and I total 100 points. So my equation, 10 times x plus 5 times y equals 100. I can graph it using the x and y intercepts and what I learned about graphing in standard form. If x is equal to 0, I'm left with 0 plus 5y equals 100. Dividing both sides by 5, y is equal to 20 questions. So if I have 0 10-point questions, I could have 20 5-point questions. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 goes here on my y-axis. If I have only 10-point questions and 0 5-point questions, I can divide both sides by 10, and I would have 10 10-point questions to equal 100 points. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That would go here. And I have graphed my solution. And anywhere on this graph, I would have solutions for 10-point questions and 5-point questions that total 100 points. Every single point on that line would give me a possible solution. The Glee Club is selling popcorn and chocolate. They raised $700 and the popcorn sold for $8 a bucket, while the chocolate sold for $10 a box. Write an equation to show this relationship. So again, I don't know how many buckets of popcorn I sold or how many boxes of chocolate I sold. So I'm going to call popcorn P, and I'm going to call chocolate C. And my equation will say 8 times the number of buckets of popcorn, 8 times P, plus 10 times C, must equal the amount of money I earned, which is $700. I am going to use the x and y intercept one more time to graph. If I divide by 8, making C 0, divide by 8, I have my popcorn buckets would equal, let's see here, roughly, that's 64, 65, okay? And if I do the same thing with my chocolate, we're going to say 0 popcorn plus 10 chocolates equals 700. Dividing by 10, my chocolates equals 70. So if I sold only popcorn, I sold 65. If I sold only chocolate, I sold, excuse me, this should say 85. My bad. I did my arithmetic wrong. If I sold only chocolate, I sold 70. So I'm going to plot those on my intercepts. Chocolate is on the y. You see the graph here. 70, we're going to count by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 right here. And on the popcorn, we're going to count by 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 85 right here. We draw our line, and we know that any point on that line will give us a possibility for popcorn and chocolate. On the car trip across the state, the first driver drove at 70 miles per hour and the second driver drove at 74 miles per hour. They drove 600 miles in all. Write an equation to represent the situation. So I do not know how many miles the first driver drove, so we'll call the first driver F and the second driver S. The first driver drove 70 miles per hour, so 70 times S, plus the second driver at 74 miles per hour, 74 plus S, and that has to equal the total number of miles that they drove. And there is my equation to represent the situation.